Malola mali e aho e ki mo lele e Tonga no kotoa fia ke o taritali lele ki mo tonu ki ho mo ngā hiongongo mo le tio kai uma ai televisione Tonga ki he hoani. I he wakai ko ia ki ngahi ulo i ngongo. Si longo ai pupu apuhi mo mapa Vaea i he pekia a leiti si atu ki mo ana Vaea o homa. Polei e tahine prinsesi pila levo tuita e whanau ako e torungi au tupu ko nau maa whakailonga ako. Mi ako maalungange ko tupo pe titi ai ki nau apasia ki o tua ke mau e poto whakai o tua. Pea whamo ui he whiawhini ai ngahi mama kirisimasi o hake ko e konga o e whawhiawhia ki no talitali o e prensi o e milino. O kuto iei pe ngahi talanoa kehe ana iange pehe ai tawakai ki ngahi o ngongo mihe malae o e sipoti kai uma a ai tuunga ko ia o e ea. Ko e wakailewa e ni ki he whakai ki iki, ko Aureliani Polutele. Ko aitawanga a ai hala tutonga mo e funga whawa pea si longo ai pupuapuhi mo e mapu a Vaea i he pekia a Lady Vaea o Homa. Ko e whakai kiki o i talanoa ko ia mō wahe whanua tōpola.
Ko Lady si atu ki moana a whawhanua Vaea, ko i waifia no pele Vaea o Homa. Ko i whapau eni ne pekia me he ofisa kolo Homa he pongpongi e ahoni. Pehe se misnai toko vuna ki he ngongoni na ane toka pehe api ko kaitangia o whai Nuku'alofa, pena i whaha ele ki he api ko tali ki hapai ki Homa e dai miuaho ata o e ahoni. E tok whahokai me whakaiki he awhalaite i tali ki hapai, pe tok whakakato ki whai toka ko otkolo mana tau. Ko Lady Vaea ko e whiwhine lahia no pele whawhanua mo kalulaine ahome e whawhanua ko nā pekia. Ko Lady Vaea whokiu kei ki sola ia ki tungani he malae o e ako, ko hina ane hoko ko e whai ako, pule ako, mo e ofisa ako i he potngau e ako e pule anga i he ngāhi taulahi. Aia na ane whahoko whatungia whamuimi tahi e potu ngā we, ko e tale kita e api ako maalungange ai pule angane iloa, ko e Tonga Institute of Higher Education, ai ni kōli liu ko e taha o e ngahi wa ako, ai University Whawhanua a Tonga. Mai ngonga le te ome televisione Tonga, ko a whawhanua tōpola.
Nai mea tahi ne prinsesi sa lo te mawhile o pilo levu tuita o whakaloto lahi ki whānawa ko e torungi au tupu, ko nau i kona e ngahi whailonga ko mea ko maalungange ko tupope iloa ko titi ai, e maho inga ke nau apasia ki he sihova he koe kamataanga i ai poto, pea ke nau talango fua kakato, kai malawa ke nau mau ai taupotu taha o i poto whaiata mai, ka koe mama mo onia. Koe ne mea eni lolo tonga e o wau ki ono whaaki ato i ngahi toi whamoni ako ke teki nau tolo e whanau, ko nau i kona ai whenga ako i he titi ai i he taoni, ai ane whai i he whareloto moritoni i he kolisi ko tupo. I he mea tahine prinsesi pilo revo toitana ni whamamawha i he mahu inga i apasia o tua, pia ke kaumau pe ai o tua i he nau ngahi whenga ko toha pe. Nā ne mea e mahu inga nge pe ai poto whakalangi i hato e mea neongo ai ngahi whailonga ko maolunga o kunau mao.
O tau ilo ko tā pe ai rerei mo tāpuaki o i kau ai o tua he tau mea ko toa pe. Pea tau ilo ai nunua o i kai ke kau ai o tua he tau mea ko toa pe. Kai tau te whito ke malae o e ako, he koe ako i o i hako tupu pea mo i kahau o i whonuani o tau o whai. Ko ngahi whonua muri lahi ko nau tuku ki tua e o tua mei he loki ako. Ka aku tau whawheta ki a Sihova, ko e kei tui o tua a Tonga, o kei tuu mau mo i tuku whonua ki langi, ai uraki whaa, o hao mai ai ho tau whonua ki he senturi wataha, neongo ai ngahi pore ke he kehe o i hala whanonga. Whaamu pētare ki ta ako, ke kei hoko atu e whakapipiki e tau whanau ki he poto mei olunga. Ke ako i ai poto whakaata mai, whakataha moi mo ui whakaatu i, whai totonu, o whahe whamiri, o whahe kolo, o whahe whonua, tau whai pe tau tolu ki he mea o tala i he wholofola. He koe mo oni pe ia. Pe mon
Ko e wau whakailonga koni na e makehe i e mahino, na e kau ki heni mo no whaki atu e ngahi tohi whamo o niako ki e whānā wako, mei he kolisi ngō e ko hango. I kai ngata ika na e whaki heni mo e whakailonga ako mā o lunga fo au, hono tolu o e ako anga titi ai ki he toko tolu ngofulu i he Bachelor of Information System. Pe tare kita o e ngahi ako anga siasi wa siri ana tau taina o tonga whaiwhikau toke ta o ngā tia kata, ne ka mata hono ako i e polokala mako ni e tau ko o si. Hi lia hono whamamawhai mei he poate whamawhai i mo whamo o niako whafonua ato ngā Peti NQAP.
O ko whiawhia ke whakahoko atu ko toko tolungo fulu ko whakapāsi e he poate ako anga ke mau e whakailonga ako matai tohi i he Bachelor of Information Systems i he tauni. Nā monu ia ako ngani e whakahoko a proklama matai tohi Bachelor of Information Systems ai ana ka mata he tau ko si i e kau mai e ki motua e wheitu una ko tongi o kau ke whai ako e wanoa wa wha hiria mao hono whakailonga ako Masters in Information System me New Zealand. Pena e malawa ai ke kamata lelei ai ako matai tohi ko hiko ene tokoni mai. Pena neongo ko whoki atu e motuani ki hoko atu e ne ako ki ono matai tohi toke tā o tau amanakpe tā hine e whoki mai hiria ako ni o tokoni mai ke uki ngā oe ai wheitu una. Ko toko ua whoki ne ako e pe ako te seare ko tupou e ko hiri e na hoko atu ki ako anga Auckland Institute of Studies, pe ako loto lele ako angan ke confirm ai matai tohi e ua i he whakawhailonga e pongpongi ni. E ko whamonia e whine motuan ki whakawhunga e a pe ako te seare ko tupou, mo e ako anga koe ni AIS ki malawa ki hoko atu e whanau o kuako i programa matai tohi ako whakakompiuta ai e whaki aho ni ki ako Masters i AIS. Pea kau atu ai mo ngahi proklama ako kehepe i he area pau ko eni.
Ko e whānawa ko e tolungi au tupu ni nau kau i he mao whakailonga ko e tauni, le kau kia i ngahi lesoni i he mōsika, ako whakawhai ako, ako i ta whaaki i businessi, pehe ki ngahi polokala mako kehepe o kau ki ngahi polokala mako i kolisi ngō e kohango. Ko e tawa ki eni e ua fulu mao no hona whotu e ako anga maa olunga o tupo pe titi ai, ka koe o wau whaki whakailonga ko hono wanima aki eni ako anga i he tauni. Ko au sia eni tongani e makamai le whao mahu inga ko hono whotu e kau taha whao pe pāki tohi mei muli iloa ko i Twinies Foundation, i e whaamu ke whawhaingofua mo toi o fiange e nau ngāwe ki hono whiawe ngai whie mau whao mo e pāki tohi a tongani. Peti Blake ilo lahia mo i whakaiki.
Koe kau taha whau tohi Twinies, koe kau taha pāki tohi Pasifiki pēia i Australia, aia ok nau pāki e ngāhi tohi laukonga i he lea whakatonga, pehe ki he lea whakabritania. O kau ki hen mo ngāhi tohi i he lea whakahamoa, Fisi, mo ngāhi lea ki he pē. Koe kau tahani ne whakotu uia i tongani i he wike kua osi, i he whengai aki whaofi mo kau taha MRM Foundation, aia ok nau tokangai kina i kakaitu ulaweangofua i tongani. Koe kau tahani, kua nau osi ngāwe ki ona pulusi ngāhi tohi lahi i tongani, o kau ki ai mai moa e taahine prinsesi Latu i fui peka, o iloa, koe ngawha o whewhine mo tangata tonga, aia ne liliu lea ki lea whakabritania mo pāki e kau taha Twinies Foundation. Nai kau ki henwe nau toi pulusi a tohine whau e toke tā unga te hakata, mai longa i whanau i loa koe pele. Pehe ke e nau pāki mo tohine whau e pule ako o kolis Quintsalote, Reverend Selala Taylor Kepa, i loa koe hina talela mo ngāhi tohi ke pē. I whakamatala o pule lahi o kau taha Twinies ne pehe ai e ana tuyo nuku, ko au ke ngāhi ako anga e ni mga fulu tupu i Australia, ko tu whaki ati ai e nau ngāhi tohi, pehe ke ngāhi lai peli whakawhanua lahi, koe uhi ke whakawhainga maari e kia whahinga taha pē. Koe whakaamuia e nau i tongani, ke whakaau atu e nau ngāwe whautohi mo pāki tohi ki tongani, ke whakawhainga maari e kia teki nau tolu whia mau o e toko ni, o i kai ngata pē i hono pāki o ngāhi tohi, ka ke whainga maari e nau ngāhi tohi ki hono whakaivia a lau konga e whanau o tongani. O i kai ngata pē i he lea whakatonga, ka i he lea whakapilitania whoki. Aia koe ngāhi tohi ai kautahani o atape ki a taha me tū kui kolo ke nau mau, me ho nau ofisi pe aia ok tu whakataha moe ofisi ai MRM Foundation. Maa ngongo ai le te oma television ne Tonga, ko au Betty Blake, ilo lahia.
O ku iei tai lili lahi e kautaha whalea lea ai pule a ngā whakataataha mo e komini weli, ki ho haa ki lahi a hono ngawe aki o e mea ngawe whakateknolosia mo whakahono pōni koe AI i hono ngawe aki i he kongani. Ko e toka ngā kuhi o ku ngali ke hanga he mea ngawe whakahono pōni koe ni o to'o ai whatongia to tonu e kau ngawe o e whalea lea ka koe whau o e ngā hilao. Ko e whakatahalahi koe ni ne kawatu kia i ngā hi whanua e ono nima e mamani i kuara o kawatu kia i motongani. I he whakataha anga koe ni ne o hake ai e tokanga mi ngai whanua langalanga hake o kau kia tongani e tuunga tau mo e malu e whaulao ke hiko lahi ai ngai aki mo whawhalala koe ia ki he mea ngāwe whakateknolosia whaiono pōni koe AI ne whamapo opo ai whakataha koe ni aki a hano tuku atu. O e ngahi te whito i ngā ue mo i tau mua ki ngahi whanua takitaha, ke li pōti ki whakataha angani i sone o tau who o whekau aki mo i ngai aki koia o e AI ki he whaolao. Pea kua vanamana iki mai eni ai laumali e o e kilismasi ka koe whaahi tau eni o ku whakatahataha i whamili mo i kolo ke whawhiawhiai a hono teu alo i tamasi i kosi i su. I ene pehe ko ngā tōa i ngahi tōku i kolo o teu i nau ngahi kolo takitaha, ko e konga e nau ngā tō whiawhia ke talitali e pilinisi o e melino. I he laumali e koia o ku whamo ui ai i he whiawhini e ngāhi mama kilismasi e wāhenga hake, ka o ku whate whito pe i he kolo e ua aia ko talafo o mo makaonga.
I he whakaikeke a ngongo ai le te oma television e Tonga mo i pule whakawahe o wāhenga lapaha sio sifa lampeti na ane pehe, ko e tau mua te whito ia ai whakotu tuu ai ngahi pulukalama koe ni, ko e hike ki tauhi ai lau maalia o kilismasi i Tongani. Na ane toi pehe ko e tau ni o kai ke ngata pe i hahake ai whakamo ui ai ngahi māma kilismasi, ka o toi kau atu ki ai mohi hifo.
Ai hape ko e tau mua whika uraki koe nei whakate whito ai hono whakatu e whakapulukalama, ko hono whakamanatua whakawāhenga e wahenga la pahano alo i mai koe kalaisi. Pato ki whika ua tewa ki ai no tānaki ho whakatupu e hapanga whaekonomika ki e wahenga i ngahi kolofa tauta. Ka whika tolu marewa ki ai ke hoko e a whakapulukalama ke whakamo ua ke tahi me tautopu mono o mai hanga i whakakaukau fōu ke wahenga ki langa whakalakalaka. Tako si o wola rere ai o keke ngata pe ai wahenga la paha e ola rere ai o su ko hifo na te whakapui mai a wha havere uriko e hataha no ko lia hona ni nei whakamoia ne pōna ko e hau ka tope whakakaukau me ngahi me foi Christmas light ko ne wahenga la paha e o su wola rere whakalukua ka toa ki Tongan o tu o tataha ilo pe he kakai he wahenga na benefiti ka na tolu na ma whakaronga i furi a whi polokalama mara ko tu ko whamapopa te ki ai ko whamaloa te ke wahenga mo kakai ko toa i Tongani whainga maari mo mai o whawhiwhia e aha koe no alo o akalaisi o tau hanganaki ati ai ka koe atu pehe mo toko ni tau hanganaki atu ni ke ngahi aho katoa ngahi aho malolo ke tau nofo merino pehe wahenga mo mai pe o whiwhia pehe lao e o te tau mau e ngahi lao koe pure anga ke tau te hoka toa ja ngahi tawhake o hangi tau te whito ke he tautupu tore ka mo tolu ke mo tau nofo pehe lao he ngahi whiwhia koe ngahi aho malolo koe ni.
Nai toi whakamala ala alam peti ke polokalama whakamo ui māma Krismasi a hahake i he tau ni, i he mahino, kua whoki pē o taktaha whakalele e he ngahi o whisa kolo i he kolo takitaha.
Hange bina mo lawe ia ngai tau ko hiri a hono paila te i mai ko ia e polokalama Christmas light i he wahenga lapaha. Nai upi ko wahenga lapaha Christmas light i he wanoa wa tolu mo i wanoa wa wha. Ko ta uni le vai au ke te uia ko wahenga la pa Christmas light u foki pe ke he ngo office ko ngai ko lo ke na kau mo no ko atu e foi pa late ne fai ke na xio no fonga farele ai pa ko ko pe ne ua na loto ke ngo office ko lo ke na fai foi pro kala mai ko makaunga mo telefon kuna le pe na ua na foi programa Tongatapu mo na foi asenita na ua ai ko foi fatongia pe aku ia no na to tau na me ai ko na ua le vai una organize te ko me anga na fetu taki ka kai ko pa ku kamata ia he fia fini no me a hono fa mo ui ko ia me ai Christmas light
Ok mahino ko tau ko o si along mo ui mo mana koa ai wahe hahake i he ahia e he kakai o i whanua ko uhi ko ngāhi polokala mawhakawhiwhia o i Christmasi. O kei tuku atai pe ai tapou me he pule whakawahe, ai kei mahu inga ai tauhi ai melino mo i mau luta, ko uhi ko malu mo hao ai nofo ai tūku i kolo. Ko i tokanga, ko uhi ko te waki ai ngāhi aho mālolo o i Christmasi. Ma ai ngongo ai le teo ma televisione Tonga, ko au Peti Blake, ilo lahia.
Ko e uni o ngongo whakaloto whanua ia ke hawani ka ngahi o ngongo me malai o sipoti hoko mai a mo Vaea o lie.
Maroma tau ki whilonga ki koe wakain ke malai o e sipoti. Ko o siwa e amana ke mataliki he ne whekomi ki hasea i he whiawipo maamani e FIFA. He rea no tauwhare ki nā tole timwha whanua ha mo Amerika a ke kai koe tolu ki he noa i tōna ki ko o si. Nei tapewa e mataliki he konga uruanki be. He rea no whakatu he misina kakai ha moa Pamela Drago a e fōfua poi ni i he taimi makehe mawahea me taimi kakato koe minite whanima. I he whoki hifo ko ngā hono wā mo i kamata ke whama apopo mai e marukolo e matariki, kai pango na e toi Vaeange hono awe he whoweti ea mo i midfielder ha mo Amerika ai vainga. O toi tāna ke tua i e Drago ai poini hono wā ki mua hano silai e alia tua ai i kuna. Ka etana tau pene whamalo i e whaiako Cliffy Wele ai whanau vainga i he whari arina nau whakahoko bemane pehe o whewhia pehe ola ko ia ko mau he malawa ke vainga taimi ka kato a ene timi.
Ano bida tini, uongo ia koe ni ngope ku kagea o e tau mua e timi ma tolo ka ofisiale ka te whanau wainga. Ako tiko e whalu fuana e ko whia bea wia. He kusio ke wainga mate ake tau whanau. Wainga pe wau ke ose taimi. Ko tiko whangi whiala ki ea ko piki hoko e wainga pa ake. Ako tiko ose anko ia ea. Ko e timi le leita hai. Nga tolu pe ea te nau ikuna e wainga.
Kai lo tonga ni, te teo te whaiako pia mo teime matariki ki hono whawhipaki e tahiti a pongpongi i hono area i koe e sea whikatolu mo e wha i e whea uhini.
Kau te au ia koe whangi mea ki pe ia ka pauti nau mumi na toki mea koe koku o whauka nau tolu. Koe te whito ngā ke he wainga, ke nau koe lawangi o tau he puru. Koe lahen koe mau whake puru, koe lahen ea o kai e timi taha. Kau te koe whangi mea ki te ngata ki ai koe nau. Ngā ue whakataha e taimi ti wheni, ngā mea koe koksi ia koe nau tolu. Nau ngā whakataha ai. O tu ia, wiko ne o sengo ia ia, ko tau malo inga pia tō ia. Bai ke tau ngā whakataha, ko tau mawete wete pe, no tu ia. Mui peke he ngai plani mai ngā koko atu.
Tu ia pe kau pōpou na nau, mata mai whaipa ki pamaro me o pōpou.
O tu ia, peke maulawa mataulu ia ke whakahonga. Ke te maulawa ke mau whakamalo, ngai pōpou tau te. Ngai mātua, maka kai whanua, wheitu ke i Tonga, ke whamamani whopu, ka mwena o Latu. O tini a mātolu, ka mahonga ia, puto te ka ofisiare pe ka mai whanau ina. E pou, ka Latu whai pe matau ki whanua. Ki tala manua pe mātolu ia, mo e whalahe atu ke mātolu.
Kai ke he koe whainolo e whipake atu motuku ki mo Amerika haa mua ki he sea, ki nau tolu koe hu atu i e konga hono wā ai aku tari me mea New Zealand, haa mua mo e tumotu Solomone i Februari o e tau fo'ou. Me mara e netpolo ko whapapau i me kautaha netpolo mamani ko tongani pe i ngahi whanua e Pasiki o puka hanau sea ke whiau spote ko mniwari aia o ko amanaki ke pakihi pe tafi mala e ai mo e hau o mamani ahu wanima ko ia o siulai o e tau fo'ou. Ko iri no tuange mai mi he kautaha netpolo a mamani e mahino e whepaki rewa tala mo Afrika Tonga i whainga hono wā i ahawano siulai ki Glasgow, Scotland. Ka hiri e marolo ko ia e talai he ahono tolu e whoki mai rewa o hoko atu ki he timi ko ia Northern Ireland pe pehe whoki ki Ingilani ahua walu pe tātuku rewa ki Malawi i aha tolu noa ko ia o e mahina tatau. Ka kehe ko mahino pe mei he mape hala whanonga i tala ki Scotland he tau fo'ou ko pulua mate eni Ai aku tui whio mai ai hao o mamani pe mga timi tu ki mua oi mala e net polo. I kropo hono wa rewa o ku taki mai me ai timi ko ia anu sila.
Ko e wakailewa e niki he tuunga o e ea, i hono tuku mai me wa wakai matangi a tonga i whamoto whakahokato e Williami whaanono.
Whiawhia beheni ke taitalele i hou eiki pe mo tonga kotoa, pe me senta whamara ea a tonga pe me whamotu, pe ko tau kongkonga lalahe ne tau whamara ea ko ia ki he whiawhini pe moa pongpongi. Alo maari e le rei au pe tau te whirike ngai e ria, pe mo vai whanua ko nia wawa ua mai ki Tongatapu pe mo e ua. Pe tu ke hange pe onga niwa, lahi ke uha pe kia au whia tau te whirike tau whanonga ko he whiawhini o au ko ia. E pule lulu o e wikeni. Pe koe anga rewani wakai ko pe me te ata satellite i longa pe iai alota maki e ria o e ngoniwa iai au fia. Pe ke ngai e ria ni ko iai uhalahi pe ke mana ne ua sia tu ngai whahai. E ria potai pe mo vai fonua ko ni ki toke lau. Ka fuafufu ke nofo pe ai alota maki ko ni e ria ko ni. O au pe whafufu ke pule lulu ko ia o e wikeni. Kai lahi alo maari pe ngai vai fonua ko ni Tongatapu au pe ki wawau. Tau whanonga ko i e wikeni. Ka koe tāanga le vani whafuafua koe pe mo wakai ke tau whanonga to toenga ko ia o wikeni. Ke ilonga pe nofo e alo tāmaki ki toke lau. Whafuafua pe ke tau ngā unan koe ke pule lulu pe ke whalai. Tua pule lulu ke whalai te koe o wikeni. Ka mata ke matafiat pe me e ria ko o ngoni ua. Ka koe tau whanonga koe ke whaosinga koe o wike. Ka mata ke toki a fia mai. Pe hei pe mawa whanki uhatu moto. Ka tau te whito ki he whaosinga wike. E ria ko ni wawa ua mai ki Tongatapu mo e ua. Ki e whakatonga. Ka tau whanonga ni koe pa mo whafuafua koe ki he pōni ki ahenghengi. Alo maari e pe e ria koe ni wawao mai ki Tongatapu mo e ua. Tu keheange o ngoni ua. Au fia pe mo uha ki tau whiao pe moia i he pōni ki ahenghengi. Whafuafua pe ke au i fua mawhana ke tili se ua taha ke e ria koe ni Nuku'alofa. Tili se ua wha ke e ria koe ia o e ngoni ua. Tau whanonga koe a pongpongi tau ke hoko pe pa mo uha. Peke au fia he e ria o ngoniwa tu ke hange toenga o e ngahi vai whanua lahi alo maari peke a pompong. Whafufua peke au pe mo malohi haviri he neangi pe me he tonga hake ke mai le tahi e tānima ki e hoa. Koe angari vani whafufua ko ke taime tahi ki a pompongi, whafufua ke tau maari e tahi e osi wanima pe me wha ahenghen. Pe maha toka e osi wanima pe me hongofuru, pompongi a pompongi. Poko taimi le vani o e la afa fafu ke hopo i he laine te hongo furu ki he ono pongpongi pa toe mahina ke toe nima ke tolu a hengi pe o whiki ai. Ka koe vanga le vani fua pe mo wakai ke tau whanonga koe toenga o i wikeni ki Nuku'alofa. Lahi alo maari e pe tu ke pe tau ngā ono koe whaasinga i wike hangi pe koe lawe ane nai. Whaafua pe ke te ki a whiang pe malaki ai pe moha uha ke tau ngā ono ke tau whiao pe mo e tau te whiri ke sāpate. Pe mo fua mawhana pe ke te ki mawhanang o au pe ke tili se e wahiwa i hen i Nuku'alofa. Pe koe ngā tāanga pe te tau whamata ea koe pe me senta whamata ea tonga pe me whamotu ke he whiawhini ka mō mea.
Koe tuunga ia oe ea, ka tau toe wakaiangi pe he ki ngahi ulo i o ngongo. Si longo ai pupu apuhi mo mapua Vaea i e pekia a Lady si atu ki moana Vaea o Homa. Po lei e ta hine prinsesi pila lewa tuita e whanau ako e torungi au tupu ko nao maa whakailonga ako. Mi ako maalungange ko tupo pe titi ai ki nau apasia ki o tua ke mao e poto whakai o tua. Pea whamo ui he whiawhini ai ngahi mama kirisimasi o hahake koe konga o e whawhiawhia ki ono talitali o e pirinisi o e milino. Mo e kakato ai peia o e ngahi o ngongo me le te o tonga uluaki o me waka o maa e televisione tonga ki e howani me whakaamo me au taki ko tonga to peia ke lo te whane kotoa. Kai malo e tau kei whi au mai, ka mō mea.
Good evening and welcome to your English news package with radio and television Tonga News for tonight. Making headlines, villagers of Maufanga and Homa mourn the passing of Lady Vaea, wife of Lord Vaea of Homa and daughter of late Lord Whakawhanua of Maufanga. More than 300 students graduated at the Bo Tertiary Institute and Hango Agricultural College graduation. And the 20s Foundation, a publishing company offering books in both English and Tongan, opened up office in Nuku'alofa last week. We'll have these and more stories coming up later on in this bulletin, as well as the latest in sports and the weather update to wrap up this hour's news package. Now for the news in detail, I am Papua Aho. The hala tukutonga funga whawa, mapua Vaea, and the funga mohuefa are in mourning at the passing of Lady Vaea of Homa last week. Lady Si'atuki Moana Whakawhanua Vaea was the wife of Lord Vaea of Homa and daughter of the late Lord Whakawhanua of Maufanga.
The town officer of Homa, Semisi Naitokovuna, says the people of the village are preparing to perform their final duty to their estate holder, Lord Vaea, and his family at this time of mourning. Vuna says the funeral programs began at the Kaitangia of our residence in Nuku'alofa before proceeding to the Talikihapai residence in Homa today. The funeral will then be held on Saturday at Talikihapai before concluding at the Otukolo Manatau Cemetery in Homa. Lady Vaea was the eldest daughter of the late Lord Whawhanua and Kalolaine Ahomee Whawhanua. Lady Vaea is no strange in the education sector, as she is a former teacher, a former principal, and a former director of the Tonga Institute of Higher Education, who now one of the schools of the Tonga National University. Reporting for Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Vaea Paula.
Her Royal Highness Princess Pilolevu Tuita is guest of honor at the Dubo Tertiary Institute and Hango Agricultural College combined graduation ceremony, advised graduates to also seek spiritual wisdom as they pursue academic excellence, emphasizing the importance of balancing academic growth as well as spiritual growth.
In her keynote address, Her Royal Highness Princess Pilolevu Tuita told graduates that true wisdom begins with God, and she urged them to involve God in every part of their lives, especially their studies, adding that the key to attaining excellence was fearing God. The graduates from the Hango Agricultural College also included 30 students who were the pioneering intake of a newly introduced academic program, the Bachelor of Information System. The Free Wesleyan Church Director of Education, Reverend Dr. Tongatapu, said that the program was introduced last year after being approved by the Tonga's National Qualifications and Accreditation Board. This graduation ceremony was the 25th Academic Awards ceremony for the Institute, a significant milestone for Tupou Tertiary Institute and FWC education. Speaking for Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Agnes Wamboa.
The 20s Foundation, a Pacific bilingual publishing company offering books in both English and Tongan languages last week, celebrated the official opening of their office in Tonga. The foundation, recognized as the only Pacific publishing house in Australia, officially opened its office in partnership with the MRM Foundation.
20s Foundation is dedicated to promoting Pacific literature and preserving cultural heritage through bilingual publications. They have collaborated with numerous Pacific authors to produce a growing catalogue of bilingual works. Among its notable publications are Princess Latu Fuipeka's book, Ko Ngafa o Fefine mo Tangata Tonga, Dr. Ongateakata's children's book, Pele, and Reverend Selala Tailakepa's Hinatalela, alongside many other titles. They also publish books in other Pacific languages, including Fijian and Samoan. Under the leadership of CEO Anatuyo Nuku, the foundation has already distributed its books to more than 50 schools in Australia, as well as state libraries, making them accessible to the wider public. The organization aims to inspire Pacific communities, nurture creative expression, and safeguard traditional language and culture for future generations. Copies of these bilingual books, along with others in the collection, are available to the public at the MRM Foundation office in Nuku'alofa. From Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Betty Blake, Ilalahia.
More than 200 parliamentarians from 65 countries, including Tonga, have met in Malaysia to push for stronger global rules on artificial intelligence. The three-day conference was hosted by the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the Inter-Parliamentary Union and the UN Development Programme, with support from the Parliament of Malaysia.
Delegates discussed how Parliament can regulate the fast-growing impact of AI and how the technology can be used to modernize parliamentary work. Meanwhile, small island states, including Tonga, raised concerns about the capacity, data sovereignty, and the need for tailored support. The meeting ended with a declaration warning that AI is advancing faster than regulations and calling for inclusive global cooperation. It sets out 13 recommendations for Parliament and asks countries to report progress by June 2026. Tonga was represented by Deputy Clerk Sione Vikilani and ICT Officer Matealona Halaholo. Reporting for Radio and Television Tongan News, I'm Litea Taukapo.
And as festivities around the Christmas season begin, many villages' communities have decorated their respective areas as part of welcoming the festive season and celebrating a season of fellowship with families. This evening, the Eastern District will be kicking off what has now become an annual tradition, the lighting of their Christmas lights display, focusing mainly on the two villages of Tanafa'o and Makaunga.
Speaking to Radio Tonga News, the District Officer of Lapaha, Siosifa Lampeti, said the main purpose of organizing these programs is to uphold the spirit of Christmas here in Tonga. He said the event that the Eastern District has hosted for a number of years now has spread and will include the Western District this year. Lampeti explained that this year's Eastern District Christmas lighting program will once again be led individually by each village's town officer in their respective communities. The district officer also reminded the public of the importance of maintaining peace and order to ensure the safety and well-being of all village residents, especially as the Christmas holidays approach. From Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Betty Blake, Ilulahia.
That was the latest from the local scene. Up next, we'll join Pia Olia for the latest in sports.
Welcome back in sport. The Mataliki women's football team has missed out on a place in the final of the first FIFA Women's World Cup qualifier after going down 3-0 to American Samoa on Saturday. Tonga held firm through most of the first half, but American Samoa's striker Pamela Drago broke the deadlock in added time, putting her side ahead 1-0 at the 48th minute. Drago struck again in the second spell, and Alia Tu'ua sealed the result with another goal in stoppage time. After the match, head coach Kilifi Wele told Tonga football media he accepts the loss but is proud of his players for holding their defensive line until the final whistle. He says the team is already focusing on improvements for tomorrow's third and fourth place playoff against Tahiti. Wele also thanked Tongans living in Rarotonga and supporters worldwide for backing the team in the first outing. Meanwhile, the host country, Cook Islands, will face American Samoa in the final, with the winner advancing to next year's second round, where they'll join New Zealand, Samoa, and Solomon Islands. From netball, the Tongan Dala will open their 2026 Commonwealth Games netball campaign against world champions Australia on the 25th of July 2026. The draw, released by World Netball, places Tonga in a challenging pool that includes South Africa, whom they'll meet on in Glasgow. After a 2-day break, the Dala will face England on the 28th of July before wrapping up their pool play against Malawi on the 29th. Tonga remains the only South Pacific island nation competing in next year's Commonwealth Games netball tournament.
That was sports with Vaea earlier. Now taking a look at the latest weather updates from the Foremoto Weather Forecasting Centre with Viliami Fa'anunu.
Hello again and good evening from the Tonga. Today is our main story for this evening. Mainly fine weather and sunny clear skies are anticipated over to the areas of Vaea down to Tongatapu and Ewa, which is good for any outdoor activities. However, for the news, still continue on with these cloudy and showery conditions throughout this evening up until Wednesday of this week. But looking from the skies today, here is the cloudy conditions to develop over to the areas of the news where thunderstorms and lightning are likely to experience over these areas. Since we got a low pressure sitting over to the areas of the news, and it is likely to persist over these waters up until Wednesday. But looking across the region throughout the rest of this week, we got this high pressure to the southeast continue to bring east to southeasterly winds to the rest of Tonga. However, over the areas of the news, we got this low pressure to the north, and it's slightly moving towards to the north of the news and further away. So we pretty much expect some improvement on the weather for the areas of the news later this week, around Thursday to Friday. However, in the weekend, we start to see some cloudy conditions moving in from the west with some showers as well for the areas of Vaea down to Tongatapu and Ewa later in the weekend. But looking at the weather throughout tonight to early tomorrow morning, mainly fine weather over the areas of Vaea down to Tongatapu and Ewa, while the newest end will continue on with these cloudy conditions with showers of rain with possible heavy falls as well. But the temperature will slightly drop down to 21 degrees here in Nuku'alofa with a wind speed of up to 15 knots prevailing from the southeast. Tomorrow still continue on with these same weather conditions, cloudy and showers of rain for the news with possible heavy falls, while the rest of Tonga will be mainly fine with a maximum temperature of up to 29 degrees with a wind speed of 50 knots prevailing from the southeast. Tide prediction for tomorrow, high tide to be around 4:25 early tomorrow morning, while low tide to be around 25 minutes past 10 tomorrow morning as well, while sunrise will be around 5:50 and moonset to be around 5 minutes to 3 early tomorrow morning. And here's the outlook for Nuku'alofa for the rest of this week. Mainly fine weather, but we'll start to experience some cloudy conditions later in the weekend with possible showers as well around Sunday of this week with a maximum temperature here in Nuku'alofa reaching up to 29 degrees Celsius. And that is our latest weather update from the Tonga Met. Hope you enjoy your evening and have a good night.
Thank you to Viliami and the team at the Tonga Met Service for that latest weather update. And that wraps up this hour's news package with radio and television Tonga News for tonight. But before we part, here's a final look at tonight's top stories. Villagers of Malfanga and Homa mourn the passing of Lady Vaea, wife of Lord Vaea of Homa and daughter of late Lord Whawhanua of Malfanga. More than 300 students graduate at the Tabo Tertiary Institute and Hango Agricultural College graduation. And the Twinnies Foundation, a publishing company offering books in both English and Tongan, opened up office in Nuku'alofa last week. That was the news with radio and television Tonga News for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.